Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Cousin
Connection
Podcast. And this is your, what was I going to say though?
I'm your host.
Yes, this is your host. Amir was taken, aka Amir.
And I am your other host, Sarah Lee.
Why do we say that
Sarah
so
Lee.
awkwardly?
Yeah, we are really awkward with that.
Whatever. I'm just going to keep it.
Yeah, we're going to keep that in there.
Let's just get started.
We don't know how to introduce ourselves.
Yeah, we don't know how to it's after 36 episodes or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still learning, okay? Episode 100. That's when we'll be like 8.
Oh my God, imagine episode 100.
Hey, it's going to be faster than anything. I'm telling you right now. Time's been flying.
We will get to about like episode 80 something by the end of this year if we continuously do it every week.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, like in my mind, let's go to age and whatever. I'm still 28. COVID time does not exist.
I'm still 27. Okay.
Were we 27 when COVID started? No, we were 28.
No, it was 2020. How old were we?
2020. How old am I now?
When COVID started, I was still 27. So were you. We just earned 29 like a couple months ago. We were 27.
Okay, I'm still 27, okay?
That's what I'm saying.
That time does not exist. Just like in the Snap, when, you know, the people, they went 5 years into the future. I keep making these references. I can't make these references.
The show, the one with the plane?
What?
Because I watched
Manifest?
that show. Yes.
We talked about that already. No, I'm talking about the Snap from Marvel, from the Infinity War, End War. Yeah, exactly. I'm not even going to try anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. But yeah, those 5 years that they missed, like for us, the 3 years, however long, I feel like it's going to come to an end, honestly, at this point.
You think so?
Yeah, like Alberta, like they said they're stopping all mandates altogether.
I know. I keep seeing articles
Saskatchewan,
about it.
same
but
thing.
Like, I kind of don't want it to.
What do you mean you don't want it to? You want things to still be...
I still want to be able to work from home.
Honestly, that's the biggest thing. Like,
wear masks in public.
What? You want to wear masks in public?
Yeah, I don't mind
Why?
it. I don't know.
Ew.
Okay, I've been trying out this new skincare and like, look at what it's doing to my
the
skin. Do you see
government's
this?
got you. You're a government plant, aren't you?
No. Listen,
Guys, I'm sorry. I didn't know who I was working with, okay?
Guys, stop. First of all, no, because wearing a mask in public... Imagine if you're wearing a mask and sunglasses, it's like the ultimate disguise. I love it. Nobody knows who you are. They don't bother you.
Okay, then just be perpetually sick. Maybe these masks will stick around for people who are still sick. Okay.
You know how they do like in Asia? Like they actually wear it. Like
yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like you're when you're sick and just say, "Oh, I'm always sick," or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then people won't even come near you.
Yeah, I don't know. All you have to do now is just cough, and they're like, "Oh."
Mm-hmm. No, I feel like that's kind of like even kind of actually no. Sometimes when people are coughing, I kind of still look at them like, why are you coughing? Okay, but honestly, like it's dying now.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID, like nobody cared about germs. Like obviously there were the germaphobes, you know.
Yeah.
They were still around, but like I still remember being like really sick sometimes.
Yeah.
I would just bring a tissue box with me.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, when you start thinking about like pre-COVID times, you're like, you were wilding out here, man.
Yeah, I would just sneeze all. I mean, that's.
We were like going outside and coming back inside and not washing our hands, going out to eat and not washing our hands before we eat, and just like sitting at a table and like. Am I calling myself up? Maybe other people did that and I just never did that, and now I'm like really just a grimy one here.
We do be doing stuff like that. We were living like.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like I just think that. I saw this post actually. I should have screenshotted it, but it was on close friends, so maybe it wasn't meant for everyone.
Well, it is now.
And the person who posted it is gonna know.
Yeah.
Now, but she brought up really good points, and she was basically saying like, when has there ever been a time where the world was so divided based on your medical decisions, like what you decide to do about getting vaccinated, or if you wanted to. You know, your choice, like, you know, there's...
Well, like, can you think of a recent time? There's definitely... I feel like we always forget about history. Like, humans have always been divided, whether it be by religion, whether it be by location. No, but to this extent,
like, it's not necessarily that we're being controlled,
back in the day,
but like...
how they fought. They had wars because they disagreed on things.
But this is the whole world.
There's a whole crusades.
But this is the whole world. The whole world.
World War II, World War I.
Did that involve the whole world?
Well, technically they were like, disagreeing
countries.
on like, because they were actually doing some crazy stuff, but like,
yeah.
I feel like humans naturally gravitate towards conflict. Like we need conflict in our lives to like give us a reason to move forward. That sounds so like, what are you searching here? Did World War One involve
Don't
all
read
the
it out
countries in the world? How are they gonna know what you just typed?
I was just curious. Like, did you not hear me asking? Like, did it involve?
Well, like technically, it didn't involve every single country.
But it said over 30 nations declared.
Yeah.
Yo,
You didn't
clearly
know
I
that?
need to go back to history because history class.
You didn't know who was involved in the war?
Like, they all fought.
Well,
I
yeah.
thought it was just the U.S. and
No, there were
Who'd they fight
there were
against?
wars like shoot, where were they fighting? I can't even remember the locations they
where
were
were
fighting,
they
but like
fighting?
Japan was like involved. I think Morocco was involved. Turkey was involved. Italy was involved. A lot of the countries like surrounding Europe were involved, and of course Japan's like a little further out. But like, yeah, every country. China was involved.
Whoa.
You didn't know this? It's called a world war for a reason.
I was wondering why. Like, I really wondered why.
Yeah, but people have been divided like in history in many different forms. This is just the latest form, and it's like it's because we're experiencing it, right? So it feels like when you're experiencing it that like no one else can relate to it, but there's always been conflict.
No, yes, I
Yeah.
agree with that. I'm just saying I can't think of a time where all of the world leaders have all collectively come together to literally remove this so-called freedom of whatever.
Yeah.
You know, your free rights or whatever that you have in your country, depending on what country
Yeah.
you're from. It's just like, it makes you think. Like, you're like, wow, the time's ahead.
Well, like it also, I want to actually get to that. So one thing we were going to talk about here was the trucker convoy that was going across Ontario, or it was going across Canada.
Yeah.
And it landed in Ottawa, which is where our parliament is in Canada, if you didn't know that. And basically they were just protesting. First, it started off as protesting the mandate on truckers to be able to go across the border freely without getting vaccinated.
Yeah.
Even though you have to be vaccinated to get into America. So it didn't really make sense because America had a mandate.
Yeah.
So Canada was just following suit and putting their own mandate. So it's equal both ways. But you know, they thought that was wrong, so they went out and protested. And initially, when we first heard about it, like this was last week when they were in Ottawa. Like mainly, it happened last week and throughout the week.
Yeah.
But like a lot of people were kind of on the fence. They're like, you know what, we're kind of on their side. We're kind of sick of the mandates too. And then over time, it became less of a truckers thing and more of just a general mandate thing. And a lot of that's how they were kind of getting more people on their side, because initially it was like a very small minority. Like when they found out the amount of truckers that were actually vaccinated, I think it was like 90% of them are vaccinated. Even a lot of people who were at the protest were vaccinated, but they were just, I guess, fighting for the freedoms of those who weren't.
I don't know. I've heard of like a lot of different things about the Freedom Convoy.
Well, because of course there's always going to be like a bunch of different people who are part of this type of convoy, and that's how it kind of muddied the whole situation, because you started seeing Confederate flags, which makes no sense because
we're literally Canadian.
Yeah, we're Canadians, and just to let you know, those Confederate flags you see on the people are carrying are not the true Confederate flag.
The X.
That Confederate flag that you see right now with the X and everything was brought back by was made by racist Americans who took the worst ideals of the original Confederates and made it their thing and made a new flag from it. If you look at the original Confederate flag, I forget how it looks. It looks like it has like 13 stars, and look it up. It looks a little bit like the one that they made now, but it's not the same flag. See, that's the original one.
This one here?
Yeah, that one right there. It has
and they made this one.
Yeah, they made that one in like the 60s or 50s or something. So when people start toting that one and say it's not tied to racism or slavery or everything, you're like, okay, then you're clearly not well versed in your own history here, because that's not even the Confederate flag to begin with. So
well, maybe they're trying to send a message. That's how you know
the argument, huh?
Maybe they're trying to send.
Well, that's what it is, right? Really, it's like if you dig deeper into it, they really are feeling those ways, but they're using the defensive saying, oh, it's part of our culture or history as a way of getting around that. And they don't even know their own history. So, but that's a separate thing from it. And but yeah, there were those people who were found at the protest. What really like made me, because honestly, I feel like you should be able to you should be able to protest, collect and protest against whatever you're feeling, right?
Well,
even if we don't agree.
Technically, one of our rights in Canada is you have the right to protest.
Yeah, you have the right to protest.
Peaceful protest.
Yeah, peaceful protest. And like, even if you're wrong, I won't like say you don't have the right to do it. But of course, Canada is very different than America because there are certain levels to how much what you can protest about. Like in America, you can have like a KKK rally, and
You can?
yeah, you can have a KKK rally, and
Damn.
you can, and as long as you're peaceful and you're not hurting other people, it will be allowed to run. But in Canada, because we have hate laws or hate speech laws.
Does America not have them?
No, they don't have hate speech laws. That's why. So there's actually, I brought it out. So in America
really is the ghetto.
So the
Sorry
ideals,
to say it, but
the ideals of America, like the constitutional fundamentals, or I forget what you say, the actual words. I think I wrote it down here.
they don't have the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, do they?
Well, we both have constitutions, right? We have different constitutions. And the thing that a lot of Canadians get mixed up with is they start to think that like the American Constitution is very similar to ours, but it's not at all. Like, of course, we have very similar freedoms in some cases, but even our ideals are very different. So like I even wrote it down here where America's Constitution, their ideals are life, liberty, economic freedom, and the pursuit of happiness. Those are their ideals. Like Canada's
sounds about white. No, I'm just kidding.
No, because it, like for them it's complete freedom, essentially. That's their constitutional ideals are the pursuit of like freeness, economic freedom, your own liberty, all of that. But the Canadian rights are completely, I need to change this. The Canadian rights are peace, order, and good government. Very different. Very, very different. To the point where like in America, they have some type of constitutional base to a constitutional argument to make against mandates. But in Canada, we don't have those same arguments. We can't make those same arguments because the government essentially can, if they feel like this is in the best interest of their whole population, they can basically do whatever they want. They can institute any laws they want as long as they feel that it's for the good of the whole population.
I kind of like that though.
Huh? Well, like
kind of.
That's like it's really. Yeah, there are good things to it and bad things to it.
Essentially, you're saying we have freedom within limits.
Exactly. That's why like instituting a hate crime law or in America is almost impossible versus a hate crime law in Canada. Like in Canada, you can simply be arrested for saying a racist remark towards someone if they feel like it's like done in an aggressive way. That's
good
why,
to know.
yeah, that's why like we always say like there's the quiet racists out here, right? Because literally you cannot be vocally racist in this country without being arrested or given some type of punishment for it.
Yeah,
and it's not only racism stuff. Like even making fun of someone who has a disability.
You can't be discriminatory.
You can't be discriminatory in any way.
Religion, disability, your gender or your sex.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of different ones.
Yeah. And I'm not saying this is 100% right and 100% wrong, but this is just the reality in Canada.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are getting that kind of confused. At least that's what I saw when it came to the protesters. They're getting a lot of those rights confused on exactly what is right. And of course they have the right to believe that it's not right, if that makes sense what I just said. Yeah. But when it comes to actually saying that it's not constitutional, their argument isn't as strong as it would be if they were in America.
Are they getting that from Americans? Or
yeah, like, a lot of them. That's why you see a lot of American flags at the protest. You see a lot of Confederate flags at the protest because we're very influenced by the American ideals and American system and American economy and everything, right? But like, yeah, so that was really, I was kind of like not really paying attention to it. I was like, okay, they're protesting.
Yeah.
But what really got me was when I started seeing the videos of them like honking their horns in the middle of the city, and there are people who live in the city there, and they were talking about, of course, there are people who were also happy about it, like business owners and stuff, because they were getting more business. Like I saw a convenience store guy who was like, yo, like, see all this dirt on my floor? I like that because it means there's a lot of traffic in here, and he's actually getting a lot more customers. But of course, a lot of like restaurateurs and stuff also didn't like them because these are the same people who you see at these protests, like they're carrying those flags. They're not really the best customers, if you know what I mean, right? They're not the most gracious people to have in your establishment. So that was what really kind of turned me off to the whole thing, and the fact that they were beeping their horns, like these are truck horns, not just regular car horns, like truck horns, like 24 hours of the day. keeping everyone awake. Like there are people with babies in their apartments. They posted TikToks with themselves, like trying to just escape the sound. People were literally going crazy because they were trying to escape the sound by going into their bathrooms and closing all their doors. But even then, they could not escape the sound because it would come through the vents and everything.
I saw one video of this Asian woman, and she basically like recorded herself walking through. I think this was in Toronto, or maybe it was in Ottawa, or Alberta, one of the Canadian cities. She was Alberta's not a city. Edmonton. I caught myself. She was just trying to get home, and she had to take off her mask because she was scared for her life because everyone was, there.
Because of the anti-mask protest.
Yeah. So she was saying like, I'm just trying to get home. Like, please, don't make this a big deal.
Yeah.
And she wrote in the caption that she was like scared for her life and everything. And I was like, I didn't realize how intense the protest was.
Yeah. And it's crazy how like like the news is saying it's a minority of people, and there are a lot of people saying, oh no, it's not a minority, or it's not like a small group of people making a loud noise. There's really a lot of people who are behind this. And I did see some photos and videos of like a lot of people being at these protests.
The ones that I saw, they were like maybe like 20-30 people.
That's the other thing, right? You never know who to believe or what to believe. I'm always somewhere in the middle. Like but I don't believe.
What? Don't believe what you see on the news, because I feel like the news will always misconstrue what's really going on.
Yeah, like I don't watch the news to begin with.
Okay.
Maybe I'll read a couple articles or something, or search up articles, because I get push notifications of articles when it comes to protests or just anything that's going on in the city or the news in general. But I'll also kind of like pay attention to, whatever is posted on social media from individuals, not from like large basis, because usually you get kind of more of the real story, like this the story on the streets from people who are literally there.
True.
But yeah, I don't know. This is hard to believe anything you see. Like there's that line, right? Believe half of what you see, or like what is it? Half of what you see and nothing what you hear. Or is it different? You've heard that line before, right? So. No?
I think
it's believe like nothing of what you hear, half of what you see. Search it up right now. What's that line?
It says,
believe nothing you hear and only half of what you see.
Yeah.
Half that you see. And these days, I feel like the word hear can
it was Edgar Allan Poe who said that.
Yeah. And I believe like now you can kind of interchange here with online. Like believe nothing you see online and half of what you see like in person, because it can be all set up for you too.
But how often are you going to see things in person? We see things online. We see and read.
Yeah, so I choose, like, I actively make sure that I don't immediately believe whatever I see online.
Yeah.
I'm always looking at it from a skeptical view, and then I try and look for other sources who are kind of covering the story. Yeah. And more trusted sources that I might look to give me more of the nuanced approach to the situation or whatever is happening there, right? Because it's never black and white. There's never a situation. There are cases where it's sort of black and white, but these days it's harder to make that case because online anything can be misconstrued. That's true. I agree. Yeah. So and that protest was happening last week, and a lot of those people who were in the protest were driving from the western part of Canada, like the Alberta to Ontario. And now they're kind of driving back, so they're making their first stop. It's almost like a tour. They're making their first stop in Toronto. Aren't they already here? Yeah, they're already here in the city. And they were like, I remember seeing it all over the news, like police were getting ready for the protesters, and they were warning healthcare workers to not wear their scrubs and stuff. And then they kind of rescinded that statement. Yeah, I think it's because they saw like it didn't really look good in general. Like it didn't, I forget what the word is, but like it doesn't look good in the public eye when you're kind of warning healthcare workers ahead of time, because you're trying to vilify the people who are coming. Exactly. And it might actually inspire them to be worse than they would have been. Or I don't know, like I don't even want to vilify them myself. Like even though are bad people in every group, there are people who have good intentions, but maybe are just misinformed. But yeah, and honestly, like the people who should be protesting, I feel like I'm kind of annoyed that the people who should be protesting are not the ones who are protesting. Like we see all these truckers who are protesting about something that only affects literally 10%. Like a single digit percentage of the group. Yeah. But there are always like healthcare workers specifically.
They should be the ones that are protesting.
Exactly. Like they should be on the streets right now.
Yeah.
Protesting. Mm-hmm. And you can say you can make the argument that, well, they can't be on the streets because they're all overworked and in the hospitals trying to save people's lives.
Yeah.
But at some point you have to say like, yo guys, like we can't take this anymore, and actually take it to the streets and tell them, hey, pay us properly.
But then they're going to face the threat. I mean, they do have the right to strike, but then they, and it's not ethical for their employer to fire them, but they, like, this is their livelihood, right? You don't want to play with that.
Well, if the truckers are more motivated to take their own livelihood into their hands, why can't...
Because I feel like healthcare workers,
or anyone,
they are
or any healthcare worker.
What's the thing called? They're like, they take an oath, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's part of their oath, but like
that's
for them to
abandon, when they're on the job. Yeah.
For them to abandon, their post, their job, and go strike. Mm-hmm. I mean, I honestly I would support them if they did, but.
But do you think like the government might be using that to their advantage and being like, hey, it's not like they can leave. Like we can guilt them into being like, hey, you're gonna let all these people suffer, for your protest, and it's like you kind of have to. There has to be a tipping point at some point. Maybe that's what we're waiting for, but now things are kind of like they're trying to how they came out with that statement I think a few days ago saying we're gonna try and get more to like a living with COVID situation instead of trying to control it.
Yeah.
And maybe healthcare workers in their minds will be like, okay, so you're saying we're gonna have even more work to deal with at this point.
Probably. I mean, they're eventually, we spoke about this a couple episodes ago where the virus is just going to continue to mutate until it becomes less
lethal.
Was it that lethal?
Like it's not that it's lethal. It just takes a lot of resources to be able to get someone back to a healthy standard or healthy.
Yeah.
To be able to breathe on their own, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you look at previous virus outbreaks like SARS, I mean, we were really young when SARS kind of broke out, but I don't remember it lasting for 2 years. Maybe it did, but I just don't remember.
Well, I think it was because SARS wasn't as contagious as all the other ones were, right?
Okay, remember like swine flu.
But that also wasn't as contagious, right? I think swine flu only could be transmitted through food, no? We need to search that up.
Yeah, I don't remember.
We're doing a lot of researching today.
So much research today. What am I searching?
Was swine flu transmittable through air? I don't know. Yeah, airborne.
It took me to the CDC website.
Oh my God. Come on. Find me a quick answer here.
I'm trying to, it's just going
Come on, Jamie.
Oh, wait. Why did it change it to flu? Who the hell is Jamie?
I told you from Joe Rogan. You don't, come on, you give it Jamie.
Oh, person to person through airborne droplets.
Oh, really?
Why didn't we wear masks then?
Well, it probably wasn't as contagious. That's the thing. Like the only difference that this, what do you call it again? This disease, or what do you call it? Disease? Was COVID a disease?
It's a virus.
Virus. Sorry, the virus. The only difference is that this virus is like super transmittable. It was like one person can infect 10 people that's surrounding them, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, if you remember, like the end of December / all of January, like I feel like all of Toronto
was sick.
Everyone had COVID.
Yeah. I'm surprised I didn't. Honestly, I probably got it and was like asymptomatic or something.
You probably got it.
Yeah. But I don't know. But I think what point I'm trying to make now is that these people are kind of protesting something that was already dying out anyways. It feels like it's not really. Like
it's a pointless.
Yes, protest? It's kind of pointless at this point because things are opening up anyways. The government is clearly opening up, and I feel like the government was kind of on the track to do that anyways. And the fact that they came out with these statements saying that they're going to just stop all mandates around the time that they're protesting right now, they'll use that as a win when really it's kind of just a coincidence that they were both happening at the same time.
But I feel like Ontario's still kind of like they're iffy. Or have they decided?
No, I feel like they're going to start. That's the statement I mentioned earlier, right? Where they said that they're going to move more to like a living with COVID situation.
But they haven't officially mentioned like, no more vaccine passport.
Wait a few weeks. We'll see. But
we'll see.
Yeah. But the point I'm trying to make is that they're protesting something like you were able to. And it's a majority of, I don't want to bring the race card again, but it's a majority of white people, of course. And it's the fact that they're finally protesting something that only really affected them. Like the one thing that finally affected them, that's when they get out on the streets. When really there are all these other things they could have been protesting that are worthy of a protest, like healthcare workers not getting their proper due when they're for what they're doing, like they're not getting paid properly or compensated properly, or even treated well in the workplace, or like I don't know, the education system needs improvement, or like just general things that are going on in the country that I feel like
the insane rise of cost of living.
Exactly, inflation, all those things, that the wealth gap. Like there are so many other things to protest, and this was really like a non-starter. There was no reason to protest this because we were already moving that way anyways, and all it did was just annoy a bunch of people.
Yeah,
and kind of make them want to leave. But yeah, so that was just something I wanted to bring up since we were already talking about COVID from the beginning there. I know people are kind of sick of talking about COVID at this point.
We're going to talk about it anyways. Okay, This is our life. This is our reality. Stop trying to escape from it.
Yeah. And actually, just to get kind of like also related to COVID in a way, I mentioned Joe Rogan, right? So like recently he's been in a lot of controversy because his podcast, and I even mentioned this in a few podcasts before, where he was charged with like, not like legally charged, but he's been accused of spreading misinformation on his podcast.
Oh, I actually read that somewhere.
Yeah, it's come to the point where even people who don't know Joe Rogan generally, what he does or how he is or who he is, have heard about this at this point. Where because since COVID has started, when COVID first started, he was actually on the like what people would quote unquote say is the right side, where he even had someone who's currently on Joe Biden's health team or whatever, like health response team. Before he was on his health response team, he actually was on Joe Rogan's podcast. And he kind of explained, this is when the pandemic first started. He kind of explained the whole situation, how it's transmitted, like what can happen, how to protect yourself, all of those things. And since then, over the next 2 years, he's kind of moved more and more to the other side, to where he's kind of what people would consider him to be anti-vax, even though
Didn't he get vaccinated?
No, he said he was going to get it, but then something happened, and then in that time between when it didn't happen, and he was gonna get it again, he was kind of convinced not to get it. But yeah, he basically went on the complete opposite side of the spectrum when it comes to how his approach to COVID and then eventually the vaccine. Because at that point, there was no vaccine when he had the guy on 2 years ago. Right. And now we have the vaccine. And it kind of brings up the whole thing of responsibility for your audience. So a lot of people are mad at him and want him to be canceled. Like even artists he's currently being sponsored by Spotify. Like Spotify.
Yes. Oh, I heard about the Spotify boycott from other artists that are pulling their material.
Yeah, like because they bought his podcast for $100 million to be exclusive on Spotify.
Can I just say something?
What?
This situation reeks of privilege, because the fact that he can even make that much money and still choose to not get vaccinated. A lot of people who did get vaccinated did it because they had no choice. Their jobs are being threatened. They literally had to get vaccinated, whether they liked it or not. Or if they needed to leave their country for whatever reason, you can't. A lot of countries won't let you in if you're not vaccinated.
Yeah, and he's vehemently like against mandates. Like he hates mandates for that reason, right? Because people say like the argument of the other side is like when we say we're not forcing, the mandate doesn't technically force anyone to get the vaccine. It just limits your rights and where you can go and what you can do. And then they're like, but my job is telling me I have to get it. It's like technically they can quit and they're not being forced to do it. But if they want to have a livelihood, they're technically being forced to take the vaccine. And I think there was a clip recently that came out with Shaq, who kind of made that argument where he was talking with someone. They're like, it's not forced, it's a mandate, but it's not forced on anyone. He's like, well, if that person wants to keep their job, what do they have to do? Right?
Yeah, but it's true.
Yeah. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, with Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
So people are trying to get him kicked off the platform, and artists had started leaving Spotify saying like, we can't support a system or a company that supports someone like this who's spreading misinformation, because he's had doctors on who have been debunked and said that they're really like snake oil salesmen. Do you know what that means?
No.
Snake oil salesman is like someone who's basically selling you like a placebo product kind of thing, like something that doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Right? But they're kind of convincing you that it works.
Mm-hmm.
So he had doctors on like that who have been debunked by other doctors or have been said to be debunked by other doctors. And my question was like, at what point do you have a responsibility for your own audience? And do you feel like the people have a case where they're saying that this is dangerous? Like they're saying it's literally dangerous for him to be spreading this kind of information to his audience. Or do you feel like the responsibility lies on the individual still?
Ooh, I think it's both. Both because, you know, essentially when you start a podcast, you talk about what you want to talk about. It's just like us. Like, imagine if we were questioned. That's not the right word. Imagine if, you know, and here's the thing, like we fact check. You guys know that. Like sometimes we'll say things and then we go back a week later and we're like, oh, we were wrong, you know? But you don't start out, like, unless he claims to be an information channel or something that where he's promising his audience that he's going to deliver accurate information. I don't think the onus is fully on him. Yeah. Just like that quote that we just said earlier, like, believe none of what you hear and half of what you see. Like if you choose to listen to his podcast and you know he's already controversial, that's on you if you want to believe what he says. If you're going to take Joe Rogan as your only source of information, then that's on you. Like you have to do your research. We're in a time now where, you know, I feel like a lot of us, especially ones that grew up in the West and the way that the school system kind of teaches you to be very critical in your thinking and to question things and go against the status quo or whatever else they kind of say. Like, you know, I think it's on both the audience and the person who has a podcast. Yeah. So I have the same feeling, right? Like I was like a big fan of Joe Rogan, and I still listen to his podcast, like specifically for whoever he has on, how I always did. Before I was more like every single podcast I was listening to, but now I'm just like, okay, if he has like specific people on there that I like or I'm interested in, then I'll listen to him, because it did become that in the last 2 years since COVID started, it just became him kind of like shitting on COVID for 2 years straight, and every podcast he has someone on, like they just talk about COVID, and they're like, and I kind of like, I'm not on one extreme or on either extreme. I'm kind of in the middle of the whole thing. But even for someone who's in the middle, it's like, okay, come on guys, get over this. Like we're done with this now, right? Like just if you there are people who have, like, it would be one thing if it was just him saying that information, like if someone came in with like other conflicting like information that proved him wrong, then he would kind of change his opinion, how it used to be back in the day. If he was confronted with information that went against what he said, and it was proven that what he was saying might be wrong, or he's maybe expressing it in the wrong way, then he would kind of change his tune. But recently we kind of like put the nail in the coffin when it came to this whole COVID, him and his like reliability when it came to spreading this kind of information. Was I think he had a guest on, and he was saying like there's something called myocarditis, which is a disease like that affects the heart, or I think it affects the heart, and he was saying that people who got COVID had a higher chance of getting this disease from the vaccine. Says who though?
Like there were studies out there saying like people with the vaccine, and there were some people who were getting this from it. You know, there's always side effects from any type of vaccine, right? Yeah. But it was a very small amount. I think it was like 64 per million or something like that.
Oh wow, okay.
And then the guest he had on is like, and he was saying that it was worse than someone who just got COVID. Like the cases of myocarditis and people who just got COVID, or the people who had got the vaccine was lower. But the guy was like, actually, you're wrong on that. People who get the COVID just alone without the vaccine actually have a higher chance of getting myocarditis. And Joe Rogan's like, no, you're wrong on that. Like he was going against it. So he had Jamie, the guy who fact checks him, he had him pull up an article, And the article disproved Joe Rogan in that case, right?
Yeah.
And usually this is a case where Joe Rogan is like, oh, I'm an idiot anyways, right? Like I'm like this, that's his thing, right? He always says like, I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm a monkey, blah, 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 that kind of thing. But he actually started to attack the source of that article, being like, but I don't know what article this is. What site is this that you're on? And then like at that point I was like, okay, Joe Rogan's definitely like sipping the Kool-Aid at this point. Like,
the haterade.
Yeah, the hater. So like I can't really trust any of his opinions now on COVID.
So he's like firm in his belief right now.
That's the thing. He's very firm in his belief.
Okay.
And anyone who's like a long-term fan of Joe Rogan knows that he kind of has a history of believing. He's even spoken about it himself in his earlier podcast, where he used to be like a conspiracy nut. Like he didn't believe in a lot of conspiracy, and now he feels like he's kind of recovered from that. But you can tell that he's kind of fallen for this one, and he doesn't know it yet.
It's a relapse.
Yeah, it's a relapse essentially. Yeah, he's relapsing into his conspiracy mind.
Yeah.
And of course there is some right information he said, and there was a video he recently came out where he was kind of almost like an apology, but it wasn't really an apology. He was kind of just explaining himself about the whole situation. And even some of the things he claimed in those videos were completely wrong, or not completely wrong, but they were kind of, they weren't the whole truth. And at that point I was like, okay, Joe, you're kind of wrong here, but
yeah.
We'll let you be. I don't feel like he needs to be canceled. That's essentially my take. I don't feel like he needs to be canceled or kicked off the platform for this. And the responsibility, in my eyes, does lie a little bit.
It does lie a little bit on him.
On the speaker, but a majority of it lies on the listener.
Yeah.
And if you feel like the listeners are not going to be educated enough, or like the system that the listeners are currently in doesn't allow them to be critical thinkers, like how the American system or American, even Canadian educational system doesn't really promote critical thinking, then that's really something that you should be looking at the system for, and be like, we need to fix a system to allow people to be critical thinkers, so they can kind of
challenge what's being said.
Challenge or navigate through this whole information or misinformation system that we're currently going through, like on the internet, right?
Yep.
So it doesn't completely lie on the listener. So that's kind of my point. I think we both agree on that.
Yeah. We definitely agree on that.
Yeah. Oh, my throat is like dry.
Where's your water?
Some water right here.
Water break.
We just went on like a 38-minute kind of rant or like just discussion. That was a lot. Hopefully some of that was educational or legible, if that makes sense. Not legible. No, not coherent. Legible. Hopefully that most of that was coherent. Exactly. Yeah. And by the way, I mentioned this last week. I even wrote this down as a topic. There's nothing wrong with being an attentive listener. Okay. When I say oh yeah,
I've seen comments about
that's affirming. Okay, that's affirming to the listener, to the speaker, that I am engaged in what they are saying.
You know what active listening really is, though. What? Sometimes it's about repeating what the other person says. Like if I'm telling you like, Amir, I like the color blue, you'd be like, yeah, you like the color blue. Yeah. That's active listening.
But I guess that is
like, you could say like,
okay, I'm a passive listener.
Yeah, because I could honestly tell you, I could ramble about something and you'd be like, and I'd be like, what did I just talk about?
Okay, let's rephrase. I'm gonna rephrase that. I'm a passive listener, okay? And by passive listener, I mean like I'm gonna be like saying,
you will make someone believe that you're really listening to them.
Exactly. I will engage the conversation too. Okay? Yeah. What are you talking about? Why are you calling me out like this? Okay.
I'm just saying. It's impossible. I'm just saying.
Yeah. But, people have been calling me out for that. So I feel like I needed to
but I do it too.
It. Yeah.
Do I say a lot?
I think you do.
I think I'm more conscious because I've seen the comments about you that I'm like, let me not say it. I'm just like here nodding.
No, but it's also even like, I feel like a lot of cultures do it too. Like in Japanese culture, it's almost rude not to say like say they don't say they say like a certain phrase when they're listening. But like people think this at first when you like speaking to a Japanese person.
How do you know this?
I think I saw a documentary about it sometime. I don't know. It's like but there was just somewhere I just met in the back of my mind. I have a lot of weird information just stuck in my head, but I remember there was like something where people thought it was kind of weird how like the Japanese when they're listening to you, they'll start like saying phrases and like things to show you that they're listening out of respect. Oh. So, I'm kind of it's not only like an individual thing. There are all actual cultures that like promote this type of active listening or passive listening, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're both active listeners. We're just stop calling us out. I mean, you know what? It is a podcast, right? So they're literally listening to our voices. So if I'm going on this like 10-minute rant and all they hear is You literally just did it.
That was not intentional.
You just my
No, but that's the one thing. I actually kind of want to stop doing it when podcasting, because it's different when you're just having a conversation, because when you're podcasting you want to be able to like hear clearly what the person's saying, but in the background if you hear it kind of throws off like the flow, like when that flow of thought that the person's having, and especially when I'm editing, like I'm trying to make a clip or something and you just hear in the background.
Do you cut them out?
Sometimes I try to.
You do?
Or I try and like close it out. But at this point I just don't care. I'm like, just leave it in there. That's who we are.
I say like I switch it up, mix it up, just be like, yeah.
But then that's like even adding more to the sound that like it's kind of distracting from what the person's saying, if that makes sense.
So you want it to just be like silent?
Yeah, because like if it's a conversation between two people, it makes sense to say but like when there's another listener, you kind of want to make sure that they hear exactly what you're saying and there's no one interrupting what they're saying. Yeah. And depending, I guess, on your levels and stuff, like you really can mess with it. Yeah. But it's such a small, minute thing that like you don't really notice it that you're doing it. So even if you're trying to actively not do it, you might just do it out of habit, which is what happens to me on every episode.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a thing, guys. Okay. It's the last stuff I want to hear about. Okay.
Watch the comments for this episode. It's like, here goes Amir.
Half the comments are like,
we're gonna have like a meter somewhere. It's gonna be like 3,000 and something.
No, I'm not counting that for the whole episode.
And actually you're sitting there like tallying it up.
Okay, so what else did I have here? I don't want to talk about that one.
Which one?
The anxiety before me.
Let's talk about that one. Let's talk about that one.
No.
Why not?
I think I've already covered it though.
Anxiety before meeting people?
Okay, so like last week we talked about
anxiety in the DMs.
Yeah, anxiety in the DMs and like general anxiety when it comes to speaking to people over the phone or texting and all that. But like I feel like as an introvert, maybe it's an introvert thing. I don't know. It could be just a general people thing, human being thing. But like any interaction, anytime I know that I'm going to be interacting with other people, I automatically get nervous.
So do I.
You do too, right?
Yeah, I think
and it doesn't matter thing.
Like I've been away from people for so long that like now it's like when I have to go out in public, I'm like, like exactly. You know, it stresses me out.
Yeah, just any interaction with people stresses me out. Like even like the other day I had to when the gyms opened. Even when the gyms opened and I didn't have my pass anymore, so I had to get a new pass, right? Like I had to figure out how to get it done on my phone. I was like nervous the whole day because I knew that I'd have to interact with the front desk people and ask them like to set me up on that thing. And like just the thought of that interaction had me nervous for the whole day.
The whole day?
Yeah, like the moment I know I have to do something where it requires me to ask something of someone in person, I like get nervous. Like there are times I'll like, let's say I have to return a product. And it's not like crazy expensive. Like let's say it's like $20 product or something. I will sometimes just not return it because I don't want to go through the process of interacting with someone to return the product.
Okay, that's a little extreme.
I'm not saying this is right. Okay,
that's extreme. Anything I say,
it is extreme.
That like returning something, like if I have a purpose, for the interaction, I'm not as nervous. But if it's like, you know, like going to like, I don't know, a wedding or something, and like there are people that you know for the most part, especially if it's like a wedding in the city that you live
weddings
in.
My heart is like,
oh my god. I don't know what it is, but like I get so anxious, and then it's not something that affects me the whole day, but it's like right before, like when you're about to get out of your car and walk into the venue. I'm like sweating, like so scared, having to see all the moms. It's just it makes me so nervous.
Weddings are the worst because like you feel like you have to say hi to every single person.
Yes, oh my god.
And like, and I do want to say hi to every single person.
You literally do.
I do, and I want to. But the moment I leave, I'm like, shoot, did I not say hi to that person? Why didn't I say? Like, I will think about it for the next few days and be like, oh, I missed out on that person. Now they're gonna hate me.
You know
like,
what I do?
Why do I like? I should just no. Like, they're gonna hate me for the rest of my life now.
Like, Amir's so disrespectful.
Exactly.
I just don't make eye contact. Like, and it's not because I don't like. I'm not mean. It's not that I don't want to say hi. I'm just so nervous, and I feel like when I get like too nervous, I just forget how to speak properly.
Yeah.
That like I just look at the ground and just hope that they don't recognize me or like forget my existence. You know.
Yeah. But the worst. That's why weddings are the worst, because like, let's say you're a little late, and you know, Sarah, you're not always the earliest person.
I've gotten better. Okay. Like the last wedding that we went to.
I can't even remember the last wedding we went to.
Well, I don't want to like put them on blast. We went like in, what was it, September? September.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, remember? I was on time.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, and actually, yeah, you were, and like, but still, we had a table that was like further back.
Yeah, and you like pass all
exactly. That is a worst feeling when you have to pass all those tables, and at that point, you just want to go and sit down because you're already like.
But Amir,
people are settled.
What's worse? Okay, what's worse? Having a table that's past all the other tables, or having a table by the entrance where you're still going to see the people anyway?
No. I feel like table next to the entrance is the best, because like when you walk into the room, you're kind of getting adjusted to the room. So you don't look to your left and right away. You don't look at the people sitting right next to the door. You look on the other side where the other people are. And then you make eye contact with someone. You're like, okay, now I have to go and talk to them. Okay,
true. Yeah.
Like everyone who's listening to this who has been to like any type of
any East African
wedding, or just I feel like any immigrant wedding in general.
Yeah,
probably has the same thing.
If you're on what is it called? Something time?
POC time.
POC time. That's what it is.
Because like we have, I guess, the blessing of having large families, and large families comes with like even larger relatives, or like
so familial circles.
Yeah, exactly. Right, to the point where it's like you're almost related to everyone. So even if you like don't say hi to someone, it's like I feel in my mind like it's a sign of disrespect.
Me too.
Yeah,
me
like
too.
I have a high sense of honor when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I feel like I have to say hi to someone.
Do you? I'm gonna ask you a question.
And I don't remember names.
I know you never remember names, but like if you go out of your way to say hi to like an older person and you have like a pretty decent catch up conversation, when you leave that interaction, do you feel like accomplished?
Yeah.
Me too.
Definitely.
Like I'm like, all right, I made my parents proud. Exactly. They're gonna tell my parents like, oh, Sada's so nice.
Yeah. And it has come back when my dad's like, yeah, you know, the dads were really happy. You know, he came and talked to them and everything. I was like, did my job.
I thought it was just me, but like that's how I felt at that one wedding.
Yeah.
Because it was so small that like you're standing in the line to get food that you're gonna end up conversing with people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I felt accomplished.
Yeah. But it's worse when you don't remember people's names. Like I remember no one's name, so like
sometimes it happens, yeah.
Sometimes for you?
So it's rare. I'm pretty good with names, I would say.
Oh, okay.
I'm horrible with oh my god.
There are too many Hamdis and Ahmeds and Muhammads and all that.
I'm so bad with faces.
You're bad with faces? So we're like opposites then.
No, it depends. Like if I'm pretty good with faces and names.
Yeah.
But like if I haven't seen you in like years, like I maybe saw you when you were like a kid, and then if I can't recognize you, I have a really bad story.
Really?
Yeah.
No, tell it right now.
No, it's like now. It's really bad.
Tell it right now.
Okay, when I went to Ethiopia in 2012, there was a soccer festival there, and we were in a car, like we were in Harar, and we were like getting out of the taxi.
Yeah.
And right before we got out, like this guy approaches the window, and he's like talking to my brother. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what? Who does my brother know in Ethiopia like this? Like that's so random. So I'm looking at him like just waiting for my brother to finish the conversation. Mm-hmm. So my brother's like, aren't you going to say hi? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, to who? Who is that?
Yeah.
He's like, really, Sada? I'm like, who is that? Mm-hmm. He goes, it's literally our first cousin. And I was like,
which one?
On my dad's side.
Oh, okay.
It's on my dad's side. No, just kidding.
Oh, from that TikTok?
But I was like so embarrassed.
Yeah.
And then I kind of like tried to play off like, oh yeah, I remember. Mm-hmm. I literally was like,
at that point, like you gotta like, even if you don't recognize a person, you gotta like still be friendly, like talk to them.
Amir, I was in my head thinking like, why. Like I was just so shocked that I couldn't remember him.
Yeah.
That like that took over me trying.
Have
to
you ever
interact
met
with
this
him.
person before that?
When I was like 9, and I went back when I was 19. It was like a 10-year gap. So when I saw him, like you know what I mean. So when I saw him now, I was like, I don't recognize you. I'm so sorry. Like I literally don't know who you are.
There are some people who change almost completely when
this
they're a
was
kid.
an
To
example.
like,
And then he like I could see like he was very hurt. Like he was like,
oh my god,
how do you not like? Especially because when I was 9, I spent 4 months there.
Yeah.
So he's like, you don't remember me, and I was like,
oh no,
I do remember you. Like trying to cover it up, but I clearly messed it up. So
honestly, you were 9.
That still haunts me till this day. No, I was 19.
Nah, but like you were 9 when you first met them, so it's like, how much do you remember when you're 9?
Yeah, that's true.
Like I don't remember much.
And like maybe I just didn't have him on Facebook or something, because normally like you know how it is. Anyone who has family back home on your Facebook, like that's really why I keep my account open.
Well, I haven't been on Facebook in months, so.
But like anytime you do go on, you like
years.
catch up with like, you know, I feel like whenever I go into Facebook or on Facebook, it's like a time, not a time warp, but like, you know, I just feel like you catch up with people that are no longer in your social circles, like people from, you know, high school or whatever.
Do you still use Facebook actively?
No.
Okay. They actually lost like, I think like $2 billion recently in evaluation.
Why?
Because they finally lost users for the first time.
People deleted their accounts?
No, like they didn't gain any users.
Wow.
Or so they didn't. It's not that they lost them; it's they didn't gain any. Because normally they would gain users, but because a lot of the youth are like moving to other platforms like TikTok, they're not really using Facebook like they used to. So, and they lost like their stock went down a lot. But that's separate. That's
honestly,
something else.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Facebook was revolutionary for its time. Yeah, I still remember it. Like
it was the first real like social platform outside of MySpace.
There was MySpace. I never used High Five, but MySpace, I kind of got into it. And then there was that MSN space. Do you remember that?
I remember MSN Messenger.
No, I know. But then they had like it was like called MSN space. It was kind of like a sort of similar to MySpace.
Nah, I never used that one.
Oh, or
maybe I did. I just don't remember.
I killed that.
Really?
Yeah, I used to decorate my whole thing. And then do you remember Tumblr? I was really big on Tumblr.
Oh, Tumblr. Still to this day, I have no idea about. Like, I know nothing. I didn't even know that it was such a big thing.
It was. Oh my god.
I always thought Tumblr, because whenever I did see Tumblr, it was someone who was just posting a picture from it, like a link to a picture. So I thought it was a picture site.
No, it's like a mix of like pictures and text and videos.
Okay, I always thought of Tumblr as motivational or sad quote sites. That's literally all I thought was.
That's one little corner of it, but like there's so like, oh man, Tumblr days. I used to be on there for hours.
Really?
Hours on end. It was like, you know how now we're like on TikTok all the time? That was the thing. Like I think it was like maybe like 2013 to like 2016-ish.
When you actually had to use a computer to go on social media.
Yeah.
Remember those days? How like
wait.
What?
Did I have it? Oh, no. I had it on my phone.
Oh, you had it on your phone too?
I think at the time I might have had like the iPod Touch.
Oh, okay.
That's what I used to use.
Yeah, the iPod Touch. I always started with like Apple stuff. iPod Touch was like my thing. Like I would get always a new one with my own money because I started working at like 14. So like
I forgot about that.
I was already buying my stuff by that point. So I was a big Apple head before I like switched over to Android.
You know what Tumblr is like?
What?
Tumblr is kind of like Tumblr walked so Twitter could run. You know how Twitter, like, you're tweeting only? Yeah. Tumblr, you would, like, post picture, like, if you would post your original photos or quotes or whatever, and then people could, like, I think it was called reblog or something, but, like, they reposted onto their own page. Yeah. And so people, like, I would curate my own page, and, like, if you have a theme, for example, like, you only want to post black and white photos, you would only reblog black and white photos. And you would follow.
Like Twitter was, like, the spiritual successor to Tumblr. Because now you can do all those things on Twitter.
Well, they used to go hand in hand. I had both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had both.
But like, what was it? Because
Twitter is more
initially it was just text, but now it's a lot more than just text. You can do that thing like reposting pictures or like blogs and all that stuff.
Yeah. But like, you know, because Twitter was more so of like updating people about every second of your life. Do you remember when people first got Twitter? That's all they were doing was just saying like, gonna grab a coffee. Gonna do this. Good morning, everyone. Like that's what it was.
You're kind of figuring out what to do with it.
Yeah. So and then like the evolution of social media now is like, your, TikTok where you're posting videos of yourself, or Clubhouse where you're having like live, essentially podcast sessions, really, or discussions with people literally anywhere in the world. So it's kind of interesting.
Do you feel like Clubhouse has like it is still something that a lot of people use? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I went on it this past week.
Really?
Because I was doing something, and I just wanted like something to be in the background. And I was listening to another podcast too, but I wanted like, I missed the chaos of Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Anyone who's been on Clubhouse, y'all know it's so chaotic. So I went on, and of course it did not fail me. I found a chaotic room, and I kind of just like let it play in the background while I was working. And then I remember like I stopped working because the conversation got so heated that I was like, ooh, like let me pay attention.
Yeah.
So there are still a lot of active users on there. I think when it first started, it was like the height of the pandemic, and no one was going anywhere, right? So a lot of people used it more so to just hang out with your friends or meet new people. It was kind of like, remember Omegle?
Yeah.
It's like that, but without the video. Except Omegle, you couldn't do groups. It was like
I thought Omegle was just like random people.
Yeah. So like, okay, maybe it's not similar. Omegle is like one-on-one. Like you're only able to talk to one person.
Yeah.
Clubhouse was kind of like, let's just say me and you create an account. We're friends with each other.
Yeah.
You have like your what is it, like their homepage?
Yeah.
And it brings up random. Like now they've evolved Clubhouse, but at the time you couldn't really pick your interests. Like it just brought up random groups.
Yeah.
And based on like the algorithm would change based on the types of groups that you would join.
Yeah.
The more friends that you make, it suggests like rooms based on what they're into and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of how it works. But yeah, I think it's still pretty active, I would say.
Okay. I think like just everything was up in the air, I feel like, at first.
Yeah.
It was trying to find its footing, and now it's kind of like found its footing in like...
It's so different now.
Yeah.
People can make like rooms, like like clubs or whatever, and they have specific like, we only talk about how to make money in this group.
Yeah.
So every time they host a room, like people that follow that club or whatever, I don't know what it's called, but every club that you follow, they host rooms and stuff. So
Okay.
it's kind of cool.
Just kind of changed the game. Yeah. There's also like this social media app we're using now, or not. It's not a social media app, but there's a game that we've all been using that like kind of like opened up the doors to like more social stuff. It kind of revived our group chat a little bit.
It really did. overnight.
Yeah, but we started playing this game called Wordle. I feel like everyone's kind of heard about this at this point. But we might lose it, eh?
Why?
Because I just saw that Washington Post purchased it. Was it Washington or New York Times purchased it?
They're gonna start making people pay for it, huh?
And they might put it behind their paywall. The people think that. We don't know yet, right?
Yeah.
Because they bought it in the low millions, so I don't know if they're making it exclusive to their platform. But for now, if you don't know what Wordle is, it's basically like a game where you have to figure out what the word of the day is. It's only one word a day. Everyone gets the same word. You have 6 chances to get it, and it's going to be 5 letters, a 5-letter word.
Yeah.
And when you put in your first word, it kind of gives you hints to what the word might be by telling you whether or not you got the letter right, or whether or not you got the letter right and it's in the right position.
But when you go in with your first guess, you're going in blind.
Yeah, if you're going with your first guess, you're going in blind. You're just putting in a word, and you're trying to see if you get it there. And most of the chances you're not going to get the word right away, especially with like this is going to come out on Thursday, so they won't know what the word is today. Like today the word was like aloft. Yeah. And we're like, aloft.
I know. It's a hotel brand.
For that third row, because we all share, now in our group chats, I like kind of hijacked a group chat that was dead, and I use it as our Wordle group chat now.
Literally forced everyone to do it.
To play it. And there was like the third row. Did you put in float?
Of course I did.
Everyone put in float.
We all did. Yeah, that's the first thing that you would put.
Yeah. So just to let you know, the words aren't going to be like an obvious word that you use like every day. It's it's like any like crossword. It's going to be a word that you might not typically use in your vocabulary, but it's still a word.
You know the one that we got, pleat? Did you put pedal or plate? Because I put both for the word.
Oh no, I got to the leet part a different way, and then I just had to find out what the first what letter was.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had all the letters. I just had the order wrong.
So I had the order first, and then I get those ones. But yeah, essentially like the way I feel like this Wordle thing has like revived a lot of people's like
It's
competitiveness and like group
mental
chats and
stimulation and stuff.
yeah because I feel like I don't know, it's just fun to be like in a craze I guess you can call it a craze, but something that like a lot of people are getting into. And I honestly like the fact that it's just one word a day, because then everyone's kind of like on equal playing field, and it's just a fun way of kind of like interacting with each other and getting that like competitive edge above others, like, oh, I figured out in 3 guesses, I figured out in 4 guesses. I'm definitely sure this in the butts cheating. I'm just saying.
No, she was a lot of word games. She used to play. Yeah, like I remember there was this one game that we used to play similar to Wordle. Yeah. When we were on our trip to Turkey, like every layover that we had, we would just sit there in the airport like playing it. So.
But I haven't played games in a long time when it comes to like just
phone games.
Phone games, right?
You don't got games on your phone?
Nah, nothing.
Me neither.
Yeah, remember when that was the thing, having games on the phone? I feel like people still do play games on their phones.
Candy Crush was like the game to have.
It's still a big thing. Like the mobile game, Realm, or like the mobile game service is like huge.
Yeah, there are phones literally made for gaming.
Yeah. And I didn't realize like how many people are still playing games on their phone. Like it's still a thing, right? Because I guess I have like the other sources I can go to, right? I have my computer. I have an Xbox if I want to. Not the latest one, but...
You have an Xbox? I literally never see you play it.
Yeah, because I don't really play it anymore. I use it now as like my Netflix machine or my Disney Plus machine, whatever streaming service I'm using.
You signed me out of Disney Plus again.
No, I changed my password.
Why?
Because there's that person from Germany who was like logging into my account. I was wondering why every time I turned on Disney Plus, it would change my like subtitles to German and like the sound to German. Because you probably left
it logged on.
Yeah, so I changed it. You never got back in?
No.
You should have just told me. I would have given you a password.
I know.
It's not playing. If I actually said that out here.
Imagine you try to mouth it and everyone's like watching the video in slow-mo trying to like figure out what you're saying.
They'd have to know my email, which is just...
Why would you do that? You're literally asking to get hacked.
No, I did it on purpose. I can blur it. Watch me forget to actually blur it out.
That's what I'm saying. You better not forget.
Yeah, but that's all I had.
We went through all the topics?
Yeah, man.
No, I feel like we're missing one.
No, you had, Joe Rogan. You had the Kenyan Constitution. You had Truckers Convoy. Anxiety being meeting other people, being an attentive listener.
Have you always been anxious when trying to meet people?
Yeah, I've always been anxious around people, man.
I don't know, Amir.
No, it's because
in the summertime, I feel like you become an extrovert for those 2 months.
It's all about variables. Like how much of it can I control? How much do I control of it? The least amount. I've mentioned this before. The least control I have, the more nervous I get. Because there's more variables. What?
You know what? I know you're not lying because you know what memory just popped into my head?
What?
At the airport when we were waiting for Gizman and you had to go we literally forced you to go take the photo of that Habasha family.
Which Habasha family? Oh, yeah, exactly, right? And we mentioned that in the
we mentioned
it shows
in the
you
podcast,
like if I don't have control over a situation.
That was the first time I actually saw it though.
What?
Like that was the first time because like imagine the whole time we watched them struggle to take this family photo.
Yeah.
And we were sitting in the car and I saw you kind of like, you're like, you go. And I'm like, no, you go. Like we were just going back and forth. And then after we have all decided like, we're not going, like whatever, they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Amir just literally like sprints out of the car. Yeah, I know.
Before,
but like, it was just so like, and then when you came back and you were profusely sweating, I was like,
man.
Yo, this is real. He's not lying.
I know how to mask it properly, okay?
That's what I'm saying. In the summer, I feel like you become an extrovert. Summer 2018, you were an extrovert with a capital E.
Was I?
Yes.
Like, it's because I had control over the situation. The more I have control over the situation, I feel like the more relaxed I can be.
How do you have control over a social situation?
Like if I have my own vehicle to get there and back, I feel like I have control because I can leave at any point I want to, even if I don't want to leave. The option to be able to leave, I know people are gonna be like, what is he talking about? Just it doesn't make sense all the time, but like just in my brain it kind of adds a sense of like comfort in a way, right? Or like
going there with someone.
Yeah, if I know exactly who's going to be there, that also is like a sense of comfort.
Yeah. True.
If there's someone, like the ratio of people I know there and not know there also affects it. Like if there's maybe one person I don't know there, I'm actually more inclined to like introduce myself and be more friendly towards that person because I want them to feel more comfortable in the situation because I know how I feel. So that's the thing. Like because of how I know that's what really helps me make other people feel comfortable, because I know how uncomfortable I feel.
Yeah.
So I'm like, maybe they feel the same way, so I want them to feel comfortable as well. So I'll actively try to make them feel comfortable, if that makes sense.
No, I get you, because I do the same. But like, have you ever been in a position where you don't know like that many people? Like you maybe know one or two people?
Yeah, definitely. Like,
did you feel welcome though, or were you kind of like, get me out of here?
No, my way to like counteract that is to try and get myself, make like what do you call it again? Make sure that the other people know that like I'm not a threat, if that makes sense. No, like,
how do you do that?
Okay, let me reword this. Okay, it's gonna sound so weird. So like, let's say I don't know the people there.
Yeah.
I'll immediately try and introduce myself and introduce my character to them. Like, show them who I am as a person. Like say that I'm like if I believe myself, like I'm laid back, I'm like easygoing, or like I'm a more positive person, I'll try and actively introduce those traits in like a more natural way.
So you try to be relatable.
Yeah, try and be relatable. Try and make a joke. Like, introduce myself properly, that kind of thing, to where they feel comfortable, and I feel like I'm accepted in the group. And once I feel like I'm accepted in a group, then I'll kind of sit back, and then it's not that I stop interacting. It's just I'll sit back and I'll kind of like chill out at that point, relax. Once I know that I'm kind of like introduced to everyone and I'm good with everyone there, and I'll sit back and relax.
But before then, you're like on this like tense.
Before that, I'm like that interaction with the people with the camera. Like I'm in my brain, I'm like overthinking. I'm like, okay, just make sure you introduce yourself properly, everyone. Make sure like everyone knows who you are. They know that you're like gonna be nice. You're not like a weirdo. You
really didn't have to do all that though. You're just taking a photo.
I know, but like it's just how I am. This is my character. So yeah. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's just how I interact. Okay. Oh shoot. Yeah.
All right. Good to know. I'm sure there have been a lot of people who you guys who have been listening and watching us, who it's interesting to see some people that relate to Amir more, some people that relate to me. I think that you and I are similar, but I'm definitely a lot more extroverted, I would say, than you.
Yeah. But
you have extroverted tendencies when you somehow manage to bring it out of yourself.
Yeah. It's called acting, guys. I'm really good at it. Well, like sometimes, When you start seeing the beads of sweat, that's the giveaway.
Yeah. But I mean, this is a good combo.
Yeah.
I still can't stop laughing just thinking about the airport story.
I'm just saying. Sometimes, I break character. That's what it was. I was breaking character.
It was just like the whole thing, like the fact that you jumped out of the car, slammed the door. I was like,
and then thought about it for the next 10 hours.
It like bothered you all week until we talked about it.
Okay. You want to close this thing out?
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the Cousin Connection podcast. Be sure to like this video on YouTube. If you're not already subscribed, you might as well subscribe at this point. Those of you who have turned on your bell notification to get notified when we post a video, shout out to you. Maybe we'll start doing shout outs. You never know. We might start doing them. If you're not already following us on all of our socials, it's Cousin Connection Pod, TikTok, Instagram. What else are we on?
YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh,
YouTube.
You mentioned YouTube. Okay, yeah, shoot, my bad.
And yeah, we will see you guys next week for another episode. Have a good week. Bye.